Hello friends. What if the Black Wolf was finally standing at the crossroads of destiny, where one decision could change the future of Konoha forever? Welcome to Part 14, where powerful enemies close in, hidden truths are revealed, and Naruto faces one of the biggest challenges of his life. Before we begin, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. Chapter 20: A Snake on the Move. Beta. Dretya. It was already morning in Konoha and the sunlight started greeting the Hokage monument to what could be better described as one of Konoha's postal cards. Normally, just by seeing what a beautiful day it would be, one couldn't help but push all bad thoughts aside and lose himself in the midst of the sight as the sunlight would dance with the trees and lakes of the village. However, there was only one person that didn't feel the need to smile despite the nice day, and that was the village's very leader Senju Tsunade. Why? Well, despite having to wake up early for a meeting with the Council of Elders only for it to be cancelled because Homura became sick suddenly, that wasn't the reason why Tsunade was angry. In fact, in all her life, there were only a handful of problems that hadn't been caused by the very person in front of her now, to whom the woman blamed pretty much all her problems on, except for her fiancé and brother's death, of course. A few minutes ago, her old teammate and one of the Sannin Jiraiya came in with the news of a new ally that would be able to help him gather all relevant information about the trapping demon technique in exchange for one simple request. Normally, Tsunade would say yes, without a second thought. The possibility of avoiding the Kyuubi from being captured was worth anything in her book. Of course, it would be unless the man that revealed the information wasn't Uchiha Itachi, member of the very organization who's after Naruto for what he carries inside him and of his request to fight Naruto, or rather Black Wolf, in a duel to see who the strongest shinobi is. And the worst part of this was that her teammate was a joker at heart, and she quite expected this to be just another one of his jokes, but his oddly serious face told her otherwise, and she could very well envision herself rubbing her temples because of the future headache she would feel. So you're saying that Itachi came to you and bluntly agreed with telling you everything he knows about Akatsuki, and he wishes, in exchange for the information, to fight against the Anbu who managed to defeat Hoshikage Kisame. Is that correct? Asked Tsunade, before seeing a nod from the one in front of her. You can still start laughing at my face and say that you've caught me, I won't mind, snorted Tsunade, while already rubbing her temples. Tsunade Heim isn't a joke, Tsunade Heim. Itachi does not know about Anbu's identity. From what I could tell, he just wants to test himself against skillful opponents. I've given him another condition which acts like a probation clause of sorts. Until either you or I are satisfied with the information he would give, we won't need to reach the end of our bargain, meaning that Naruto won't have to fight him. We have to think of the bigger picture here, Tsunade. I know that we might be handling Kyuubi on a silver platter to the Akatsuki, but that won't happen unless we have vital information to disrupt their organization at once, explained Jiraiya until he saw Tsunade place both her hands below her chin in thought while absorbing every word of Jiraiya's explanation. What if your relation with him backfires and he's just doing this to lure his way into the village and manage to capture Naruto? What would you do then? Plus, we have one in our shinobi force who is dying to shove a Chidori up Itachi a couple of times. What would happen if Sasuke had knowledge of this? He'll go ballistic, that's for sure, asked Tsunade, to which Jiraiya frowned in dismay, from not counting the minor traitor into consideration. Jiraiya considered Sasuke to be a traitor, because in his book, if it wasn't for Naruto beating him half to death and bringing him by force, the Uchiha would still be serving under the big traitor Orochimaru. You could declare an S-ranked secret only to be known by us and maybe Naruto, since in the end, he would be fighting Itachi, and I guess he deserved to know the real reason, don't you think? Asked Jiraiya, earning a nod from Tsunade, who in turn began to think. Surely, this opportunity was too much to pass by, since they wouldn't be getting information from suspicious sources, rather one of the organization's members himself. But the problem remained, since if she agrees to this, then Itachi would have his fight against Naruto, which remains to be her doubt in this manner. Jiraiya, would you grade him able to cope against someone as Itachi? I'm sure Naruto has become a force to be reckoned with, but to face Itachi is a feat not even Kakashi managed, and he has 10 years more of experience. Asked Tsunade, before seeing Jiraiya frown at the question and cross his arms. True, the kid got enormous potential to top Itachi in skills, but indeed experience was something that prevented one from being killed, and certainly Itachi has way more experience. Not to mention that Itachi holds a better Sharingan than Sasuke, and should he use it on Naruto, the results could be catastrophic. You raised a valid point here, Tsunade. Were it another one of the Akatsuki, Naruto would be able to cope well against, but I'm more worried about his further developed Sharingan. Whereas Sasuke could anticipate the opponent's movements, Itachi could use his to damage one's mind, and I don't know how Naruto would take being on the end of a Tsukiyomi. We could talk to Kakashi and see his standpoint in this. After all, not only he has a Sharingan, but he also spars with Naruto from time to time. He could grant us a better explanation of Naruto's skills so far and his position, whether or not Naruto could beat Itachi in a fight, advised Jiraiya, before looking at the Hokage, who in turn nodded her head in approval. I gave his team a day off after the last mission. I'll have to reach him back in his home. Shizune, call Kakashi for me, I need to talk to him, said Tsunade, but was interrupted once she heard a third voice. You don't need to call me Tsunade-sama, I'm already here, said Kakashi as he was reading his favorite book while in his Junin attire. I happen to sometimes be on top of the Hokage's tower to be lazy, I mean to catch up on my reading. Also, I kind of overheard your discussion a bit. You wanted my opinion on Naruto's skills against Itachi, right? Asked Kakashi, before looking up for a while with a hand on his chin, not at all bothered to see that Tsunade wasn't so pleased to learn that he was hearing everything. Jiraiya for his part couldn't help but smile at how easily one could piss off his old teammate, until he saw the silver-haired shinobi narrow his view towards the Hokage to answer. Naruto has exceeded every single expectation of my own, to the point that I believe him to be on par with an Akatsuki member. He managed to overcome every single flaw in his skills and even improved all of them. His ninjutsu is off the charts, Tai and Kenjutsu as well, and his genjutsu aids him a lot. In fact, he even devised a new fighting style that relies heavily on illusions. However, against the Sharingan it wouldn't be effective. Regarding experience, Naruto is constantly testing himself, whether on the mission or inside his mind, said Kakashi, before seeing the doubted look on the Sanin's face. What do you mean inside his mind, Kakashi? Asked Jiraiya. Kyuubi is a very creative demon, it appears. By using Naruto's memories, he can recreate past enemies and even allies to have a fight against Naruto. For instance, Naruto already fought against Momochi Zabuza and Yamato, from what I heard. The interesting thing is that the enemies each have one tail worth of Kyuubi's power, and still Naruto was able to win, meaning he has gained much experience from these fights. I'm pretty sure he already fought against other enemies, but I never thought of asking. Naruto right now borders higher ranked in skills without even relying on Kyuubi's chakra, and I'm sure he is S-ranked with one tail's worth of the fox's chakra, said Kakashi, earning a surprised nod from those present, until he spoke once more. Nevertheless, Naruto won't use the fox's chakra from fear of the beast escaping, so he's high A ranked. Well, Naruto's chakra coils will be in constant expansion because of the Kyuubi inside of him, so if he can improve his skills for his fight against Itachi, then he could have a higher chance of success, said Tsunade, earning a nod from Jiraiya, until Kakashi chose to speak. Right now, the only aspect left he needs to work on is his experience, Tsunade-sama. I doubt that there is much he needs to improve, rather than learning how to use his known techniques in battle with more efficiency. He trains constantly with me and the rest of the team, but that's not enough. He needs to train with tough shinobi constantly to expand his knowledge of fighting, said Kakashi with his arms still crossed. Tsunade and Jiraiya couldn't help but agree with him. Then, I'll agree with Itachi's request, Jiraiya. However, I'm afraid Naruto will have to make a huge step in his training. There are a couple S-ranked missions stacked, waiting to be assigned, and I'll pick one suited for his skills in combat. You're dismissed, Kakashi, said Tsunade, earning a nod from the Junin, before he left via Shunshin. == with Naruto == Because of his day off, Naruto was found spending time with the one that captured his heart. When Kurenai heard the news of Naruto's vacation, she was ecstatic to the point of planning a great number of activities to do together. She and Naruto already spent a wonderful time inside the shower and in the kitchen, which the woman still had the decency to blush while remembering how she loved feeling him all over the place twice. Now, they were having some lunch at a place that was famous in Konoha for its sushi. Actually, both Kurenai and Naruto decided to change their taste in food, since it was either ramen or dango, and the fact that Naruto tasted sushi for the first time and loved it brought a smile on her face, seeing as now the couple could choose other types of food. So Naruto-kun, tell me, you're about to tell your mission with Shikamaru and Shino, until the waiter interrupts. How was it? Asked Kurenai, while remembering the genjutsu she put the man who didn't want to serve their table because of her boyfriend. Naruto for his turn nodded. It wasn't so bad, Kur-chan, it was actually the first mission I went as captain. Shikamaru and Shino are both smarter than me in so many ways that I thought they wouldn't agree with my plans, but to my surprise, they didn't. Even Shikamaru called me Taiko. The mission itself went smoothly as well. While I was shinobi, leaned more on numbers than skills, hence why we didn't have such a hard time defeating them. Also, this was the first mission I managed to use the foxes that Kyuubi provided me with, explained Naruto, earning a smile from his beloved, in return filling Naruto's heart with warmth as he found that he carved said reaction from the one he loves. Shino told me, though, you encountered one friend from your past, is that right? He said that you couldn't review your identity, so you couldn't greet him, asked Kurenai, earning a sad nod from the blonde. Yes, his name is Tazuna and now the feudal lord of Wave Country. He was part of my first C-ranked mission that turned into an A-ranked one, because of Zabuza's involvement. At the time, Tazuna hired us for his protection, since he was building a bridge that would link Wave Country with Fire Country, thus freeing his land from the power of a businessman called Geitu. Because of our team, Geitu was killed and Tazuna managed to finish the bridge, and from the looks of it, the country is now flourishing with new deals and trades all over the elemental nations. I really wanted to visit his family one day, you know. I've also become good friends with his grandson Inari, said Naruto as he smiled upon seeing some memories flashing before his eyes. Well, maybe if the Hokage grants you another vacation, we can go there and make a visit. I'm sure that this Tazuna person will enjoy seeing you once more, and Inari as well, said Kurenai as the waiter arrived, not even bothering to look at Naruto before placing their dish with different types of sushi and sashimi. As they ate in comfortable silence while looking at each other, they didn't see a familiar couple arriving at the restaurant, before stopping right in front of their table. Naruto, Kurenai-sensei, how's it going? Asked Shikamaru as he was holding hands with his girlfriend Ino. Hi there Shika, I see you got a day off as well, please join us for lunch, said Naruto, to which the couple nodded and each took a chair, before each duo entered in a conversation. Ino and Kurenai began to talk about a new kimono that Shikamaru's mother gave to her as a present, while Naruto and Shikamaru were engrossed in a shinobi-type conversation regarding their last mission. _= At the Anbu HQ == It was already late at night and Yamato was busy inside his office at the Anbu HQ handling a couple of mission reports that needed to be signed. Of course, just like any bureaucratic assignments, he had to deal with a lot of subjects that weren't related to the Shinobi way of life, like their division's budget and some disciplinary complaints of two Anbu members that chose to fight over the last set of dango available at the restaurant. He now had a newfound respect for the Hokage since she must have faced worse situations to handle. Yamato could only shiver from the thought of dealing with every single ninja inside Konoha, ranging from Genin to Junin. The man was about to finish everything and go home for the day when a person he never thought to see outside the interrogation chambers walked inside his office. "Hello there, Yamato-sama," said Ibiki while bowing in respect for his fellow Anbu commander. "It's good to see you, Ibiki-sama. What can I do for the Anbu Black Ops?" asked Yamato as he knew of Ibiki's promotion to commander of a different Anbu division, called the Anbu Black Ops. They were responsible for protecting Konoha from the shadows, with S-ranked missions that only the Hokage herself knew, and should any shinobi be captured, his or her body would burn because of a seal in order to erase any evidence of Konoha's involvement in the matter. Yamato himself worked a few times for said organization, before retiring from it. He could choose to be a full-fledged Junin or return to the regular Anbu, so he chose the latter. "Since my promotion to Chief of the Black Ops, I failed to encounter competent shinobi to perform our missions, but I became rather intrigued about a team of yours and I was hoping to grant them the position," said Ibiki, though Yamato already suspected which team was the man referring to, but he chose to remain silent as Ibiki said it. Anbu Team 5 has an impressive record of successful missions on their hands, and it's composed of highly experienced and skilled shinobi like Hitaki Kakashi and the one that surprised me the most, Uzumaki Naruto. I know that they are amongst your division's finest shinobis, but they caught my interest. What do you say?" asked Ibiki, before seeing Yamato think for a while. "Black Ops missions are dangerous, Ibiki-sama, and risking someone as famous as Kakashi-senpai is not something the Hokage would wish for Konoha. Also, Naruto himself has created a name for himself. I have no problem with transferring this team to your division, but the Hokage must have the final word on this matter," said Yamato, pointing out his opinion to Ibiki, who in turn nodded and turned to leave, but not before saying goodbye to Yamato and scheduling a meeting with the Hokage in order to discuss this change. _____ The next day at the Hokage's office. After arriving at her office, Tsunade grabbed her stack of S-ranked missions to be assigned to her shinobi staff. She was looking for something that could really test Naruto's skills, since he would need the experience for his battle against Itachi. Pausing for a while, she wondered whether or not her decision was the right one, considering the danger of the situation. Itachi is considered an S-ranked shinobi for a very good reason, and for all the experience Naruto has gathered, she doubted that the blonde could win, if Itachi fought seriously. Not even wanting to dwell on such a thought, she found one from the stack of missions that was suited for what she intended for Naruto. Apparently, a village located near the border between Wind and Fire Country is being terrorized by Akumo, a ranked missing nin, although his name and abilities were unknown, since the village has no ninjas whatsoever. At first, she wondered if the information was accurate since no one would have knowledge of ninja ranks, but it's better to send someone and be wrong than send a team of chunin and then having to inform their families because of her bad judgment. The mayor of the village requested assistance from elite shinobi who could deal with the situation and save the village. Normally, she would have sent a couple of junins to deal with the missing nin, but since this would be a test for Naruto, she will send him alone for the deed. However, she very well knew that sending an Anbu alone is suicide and terribly against the village's policy, no matter if this is a test or not. At the very least, she could send Kakashi on this mission to aid him if possible, but let him fight against the enemy. Smirking at her ingenuity, Tsunade also created one primal objective, and that would be capturing the missing nin instead of killing him. The reason was that Kumo was getting restless ever since they placed Naruto in their bingo book, and from some investigation reports, they've increased the training rhythm of their genins, meaning that they are expecting to build up a sizable army against Konoha. So, by sending one of their missing ins for them to deal with will be served as an act of good faith by the Leaf Village, thus hoping to avoid a major conflict, or at least that's what she hoped. Kumo was and still remains a wild card that shouldn't be left out of sight. They happen to focus on an intermediate term between numbers like Iwa and abilities like Konoha. Pressing the communication button, she called for Shizune. Shizune created a new S-ranked mission for Anbu member Black Wolf and Anbu member Dog. The prospect is on my desk, and also call them in here in 15 minutes for debriefing, ordered Tsunade from the intercom, earning an "okay" in acknowledgement from her assistant, before the Hokage returned to other mission reports that were stacked on the left side of her table. As he read through the reports, she found one from Sasuke's Chunin team that entailed an infiltration mission next to Iwa territory. Their mission objective was to get in contact with Jiraiya that was hiding there and retrieve some information he had about Iwa's activities. According to the report, the team encountered some Junin-level shinobi, but they were subdued easily and without leaving any traces for the Rock Village to follow towards Konoha. Leave it to Jiraiya to use his toads to vanish with the bodies. Well, at least I don't have to hear the old geezer of a Tsuchikage demanding some form of retribution for the whole thing. Also, the information is not of great importance. Apparently, a new Tsuchikage will be nominated in a couple of months, and there are two worthy candidates. One from the report has the support of the Junin, but the other has the council's back, aka political in my opinion. I don't believe that either one would want to harm us, but it's nice to keep in touch with these sorts of things, thought Tsunade, until she heard the noise of her intercom buzzing. Tsunade-sama, I've already sent the message to Black Wolf and Dog. They are sure to appear any time now, said Shizune, but before Tsunade pressed the button to respond, she saw two different Shunshin techniques in front of her. Before Naruto and Kakashi appeared in front of her, however, she had the decency to sigh in dismay upon seeing the dog-masked Anbu reading that pervert's book. Kakashi, seriously, I thought you'd drop this book once and for all, asked Tsunade, before seeing Kakashi take his face, or rather his mask, off the book and close it before placing it inside his kunai pouch. My apologies, Hokage-sama, I just needed to do some catching up, that's all, said Kakashi, though Naruto, sighing in dismay at his sensei's answer, spoke for her as well, so she dismissed and began the briefing. == in Omegakure == Sitting on top of the highest building in Omegakure, Pain was downright furious at his predicament. It began with Sanbi's escape from the statue and then Zetsu's disappearance. The organization leader tried using the astral projection technique to call for Zetsu wherever the man was, but for some reason, Pain couldn't feel his presence, and he now wondered if the man found the three-tailed demon. There is a possibility that Sanbi managed to defeat Zetsu before he had the opportunity to track the monster, or a third party came in and defeated him, which to Pain was highly unlikely. Zetsu was more of a tracker than a fighter, but even so, he was considered an S-ranked missing nin from Kusa, and as such, he wouldn't be finished by just anyone without even communicating with his leader. Now, with Zetsu gone, Pain could only count with Itachi and Tobi Madara in disguise. Itachi was sent to retrieve the Hachibi, but so far, the man didn't send him any information about his whereabouts, which also infuriated Pain to his very core. The technique responsible for capturing the last-tailed demons required at least two new sources of chakra aside from the still-alive members, meaning that he would have to recruit once more. Also, there is the fact of capturing the tailed demons, since both the Hachibi and the Kyuubi are nowhere in sight. He then concluded in reaching Itachi to see about his whereabouts, so he focused on the ram seal for the inner projection technique and reached Itachi. However, after consecutive tries, he had nothing just like Zetsu. Pain was beginning to be suspicious about everything. Both Zetsu and Itachi vanished from out of nowhere. Snarling, Pain got up from the statue and set out for a new objective. He would investigate the reasons for Itachi's disappearance and get to the bottom of this mess. Underscore. Equals with Orochimaru equals. Looking at Kabuto's corpse, Orochimaru couldn't help but laugh in excitement because of his final achievement. Since Kabuto was dead, Orochimaru didn't need to worry about the after effects of the Cursed Seal Level 3. After bringing Kabuto back from the dead with his Edo Tensei Jutsu, Orochimaru activated his new Cursed Seal on his body in order to see the results of the experiment. To his surprise and delight, Kabuto managed to use the third level of the Cursed Seal perfectly. Whether or not it worked because of his regenerative abilities, the Snake Sannin didn't know, but the fact remained that Orochimaru did succeed to create the perfect soldier to do his deeds and for the final kidnapping of Sasuke Uchiha, so that Orochimaru could finally get the Sharingan. As he looked, he noticed that Kabuto was just opening his eyes and facing his master with that creepy smile on his face. "Orochimaru-sama, how may I assist you?" asked the four-eyed zombie, earning a snicker from Orochimaru. "Your first order, Kabuto, will be to eliminate the Kyuubi brat once and for all. If I want Sasuke here, that brat will have to be dealt with at once," ordered Orochimaru, earning a nod from Kabuto as he adjusted his glasses, before he heard Orochimaru speak again. "The only problem is that not one of my sources can locate him inside Konoha, which means that you'll have to find him yourself. I won't return until I find him and kill him," said Kabuto before he left the premises, towards finding his target, while listening to Orochimaru's never-ending evil laughter echoing through the hallway. Underscore. Equals with Naruto and Kakashi equals. After a day of traveling, Naruto and Kakashi were now hidden behind the dense woodland that happened to protect the very village they were going to. Their mission was simple, yet not at the same time. Kakashi explained to Naruto the difference between subduing an enemy and killing an enemy, and to tell the truth, Naruto didn't like it one bit. Subduing the enemy meant that he would have to hold back on his techniques so that he doesn't kill him, but the enemy won't have any problem going all out on Naruto, which meant the blonde was at a heavy disadvantage. Not to mention that Tsunade explained that Kakashi was only here for precautions and that only he would engage the enemy in combat. When being asked if there was a problem, he said nothing. But the fact remained that this was the first time he'd have to hold back against an enemy, and any mistake could prove to be fatal. "This is bullshit," snarled Naruto for no one to hear, but apparently, Kakashi sighed in dismay before turning to his now impetuous student. "Calm down, Naruto, this isn't the first time that a ninja is ordered to subdue an enemy. There are times when killing an enemy can lead to dangerous consequences, so it's in our best interest to avoid it. Now, can you sense some heavy chakra in this place?" asked Kakashi, earning a nod from Naruto. "Yes, I can. It's weak, but he's probably far from us right now, considering that the request was legit," explained Naruto, to which Kakashi nodded and focused on his senses for a while, before drawing the same conclusion as his student. "Be careful, though. We don't know about his chakra control, he could be disguising it well," advised Kakashi, before the two Anbus proceeded with care throughout the foliage. Actually, Kakashi already knew that the guy was waiting for them, while crouched behind a big rock, but he would let Naruto acknowledge the man's presence and engage him in battle. Naruto for his turn was going straight for the rock, basing purely on his instinct. Suddenly, he felt a rise in temperature, before his instincts told him to jump, to which he obeyed. He realized, after 1 second, that his instincts proved to be correct, seeing as a huge fireball smashed the rock into tiny pieces and would have hit him head-on, if he remained in the same direction. After the smoke subsided, a sudden shape appeared before his appearance could be seen 100%. The Kumo-slashed insignia was evident on the man's forehead, and his really spiked blonde hair, added by the mad smile on his face, gave every indication of a total lunatic, just wanting to torch everything. Still, seeing a Kumo shinobi with the ability of using Kaiten ninjutsu like this was new, which proved to be quite troublesome to Naruto since he didn't exactly use his second affinity much, rather adapting his fighting style to Fuden and Raiden techniques. So, it appears that the people of this pitiful village managed to reach Konoha's ears. I'm flattered that those dogs would send a couple of their puppy Anubis after me. Let's make this quick, I have the whole village to burn, said the man, before falling into a fighting stance. Naruto followed suit, though he realized that his opponent not once tried to shorten the distance between them, meaning that he plans to attack him with long-range attacks. I hate to be a spoilsport on your hobby of burning villages, but I'm afraid you must come with us, willingly or unwillingly, it's your choice, said Naruto, before focusing chakra to his feet and charging his opponent, who in turn did some hand seals and exhaled a number of medium-sized fireballs in hopes of hitting the black-masked Anbu, but Naruto saw those and dodged them easily, while shortening the distance between one another. However, as soon as he was inches away from the opponent, he saw the man doing another set of hand seals, before slamming his hands on the ground for Doden Doryu Juheiki, Earth Release, Earth Rampart Jutsu. Just as Naruto did a backflip, the earth in front of him started to lift, thus protecting the missing nin, surprising Naruto. Man, Kaiten and Doden, wonder if he has also Raiden attacks up his sleeve, snorted Naruto while focusing on hidden attacks out of nowhere. He was not disappointed, as a great number of shurikens were sent flying from different directions straight at him. Naruto snorted, because the man didn't pinpoint his location from the attack, but Naruto dodged the incoming shuriken, before jumping up the new terrain that was created, before he saw a stream of fire coming straight at him, before he realized what happened. Doing a sequence of hand seals for Suiten Sujinheki, water release, water barrier jutsu, Naruto jumped backwards as a water stream protected him, while he verified the man's position, but so far nothing. Far from the fight, Kakashi was seeing everything with his Sharingan and noticed the position of the enemy, but he knew why Naruto was having a difficult time. From what he could tell, after using a technique, the missing nin would change his position, while Naruto is defending from his attacks. Right now, he saw Naruto's water barrier protecting him, before the blonde fell behind the landscape created by the enemy. Smart move Naruto, now let's see if you can use it to your advantage, thought Kakashi as he saw Naruto hiding behind it to assess his situation. Back to Naruto, he assessed the situation and came up with a plan to at least pinpoint the man's location. Moving his hands to form a familiar position, and immediately four Narutos appeared to his side. Suddenly, all four of them but the original one vanished, as they moved to attack the enemy. Almost 2 minutes later, Naruto received memories of the enemy a couple of meters to his right. The third memory showed him the same distance but to the north direction. The last one showed the enemy in the right direction, so if the pattern stays the same then the next attack will be Futen Daitapa, wind release. Great breakthrough jutsu, said Naruto as he aimed his attack to the direction where the missing nin was and smirked when he heard a couple of screams, before the man was propelled a couple of meters away, before adjusting his body so as fall on his feet. Nevertheless, the innumerous number of cuts on his body proved that he shouldn't take this Anbu too lightly. However, he didn't count on Anbu to appear right in front of him. You do have a lot of chakra to do a lot of techniques, but I'm not going to lose you out of my sight, said Naruto, before he charged straight at the enemy, aiming for a punch at the man's jaw, only for it to be dodged, before Naruto saw him disappear inside the ground. So, that's how he managed to switch position so quickly, thought Naruto as he focused chakra to his feet and increased his speed to impossible heights as he focused on the chakra usage to pinpoint his location. The enemy appeared behind a little tree, but was not able to escape Naruto's grasp as he appeared with sparkling hands before landing it on the man's chest, thus sending 1,000 bolts of lightning into the man's core. The man couldn't even scream from the amount of pain, before he passed out. Seconds later, Kakashi appeared and placed 2 fingers on his neck to check a pulse and he managed to find one. Well Naruto, it appears you made it. Although sending a high charge of electricity is heavily unadvisable. I'm guessing that since he came from Kumo that he was used to being shocked. Now seal the man's body into one of the body storage seals and then we will leave, said Kakashi before Naruto nodded and sealed the man, before getting up and looking at Kakashi. Sensei, I was wondering about the reason behind this mission, said Naruto, to which Kakashi nodded, though if the mask wasn't there, he would have smiled at his student. Indeed, Naruto should have realized that he was being tested, but for what reason still remained unidentified. Why would the Hokage send us here and only place me as the one fighting the enemy? What was your purpose on this mission? Asked Naruto. Kakashi, for instance, smiled once more, but he could not answer Naruto's question, at least not right now. I was sent here as a backup Naruto just in case you couldn't manage to subdue the guy without killing him. Now let's go back to the village, said Kakashi, to which Naruto nodded, before he followed Kakashi towards the village. Just as the two left a couple of trees, the pair moved fast to evade a great number of incoming shurikens that would impale every inch of their skin. After they landed on the ground, in front of them was the enemy. With the Sharingan, Kakashi was assessing the stranger who attacked them, before he grew pale. No way, I killed him personally, how can he be alive, thought Kakashi. Good to see you Kakashi, it's been a long time since you used that eye on me, hasn't it? Asked Kabuto as he showed his face, earning gasps from both Naruto and Kakashi. And that's about it. Cliffhanger, actually this is the first time I did it. Kabuto is back from the dead and he's after Naruto. How will the fight end and will the Anbu team manage to overcome the new cursed seal? Also, what will Tsunade say once Ibiki appears before her with his request? Chapter 21 Escaping from Death. Beta. Dretya. Naruto and Kakashi were staring at the man they thought was killed by the very one with the dog mask. The silver-haired Junin thought he was hallucinating, but considering the type of experiments Kabuto and Orochimaru performed, he didn't feel the need to be surprised. Nevertheless, even with his experience, Kakashi was kind of unnerved that his sense of danger was bothering him so much. Kabuto couldn't be stronger since the day they fought, now could he? The problem was that whoever apparently brought him back from the dead would have other intentions than simply giving the man a second chance in life. It didn't help that this feeling was familiar to both Kakashi and Naruto as they always felt it upon being close to someone under the influence of the cursed seal. Naruto for his part was watching Kabuto's unnerving and rather sick-looking smile with a frown. This was the man that caused a lot of trouble for Konoha. Even in death, the man can be a pain in the. Watching his partner from the sideline, he was surprised that Kakashi was using sign language to communicate with him. And since Naruto pretty much memorized the signs, he understood what Kakashi wanted to say. According to his partner, Kabuto was still unaware of Naruto's identity, hence why he was addressing exclusively to Kakashi and not both Anbus. That meant that while fighting, the blonde couldn't afford to use any skills that would alert Kabuto, so no Kage Bunshin and definitely no Rasengan. I saw you die by your own hands Kabuto, but it seems Orochimaru had other plans for you, commented Kakashi, earning a sinister smile from the snake's second in command. Indeed you did Kakashi, however Orochimaru-sama was most displeased with this predicament, hence why he used his technique to bring me from the dead. That means more fun for us, since we could continue from where we stopped and don't think it will be as easy as before, though I was amazed, at the time, that you managed to defeat me in such a brutal manner, smiled Kabuto, before he turned to the other Anbu member in deep contemplation. Kabuto knew never to underestimate a shinobi above the rank of Junin, mostly because the last time he did so, he was dead from a very powerful Raiden attack Kakashi used. Therefore, if this other shinobi was as good or either as experienced as the copy nin, Kabuto would have to be wary of his movements. The stance alone was already unnerving, his trained eyes could tell. It showed nothing but confidence that his skills would be able to land the killing blow. I've managed to beat you once and I will beat you once more. You should have used this opportunity Orochimaru gave you and live longer. Now your mistake will be your downfall. Be prepared, said Kakashi, before he took out his ninjutsu and charged against Kabuto with impressive speed while Naruto was just watching from the sideline. Another aspect of the message was that he would participate in this battle as backup. Kabuto saw the attack coming and evaded when the time came, surprising Kakashi because he was relying on the Sharingan to predict the man's movements. The moment he passed Kabuto, Kakashi slipped a couple meters forward, before focusing chakra to his feet for propulsion. He was facing Kabuto's back because of his movement and was about to land the killing blow, when Kabuto vanished from sight for 1 second, before appearing next to the copy nin, while aiming his chakra scalpels at Kakashi's chest. He would have landed the attack, if he didn't have to dodge a couple of apparently elemental shurikens on the verge of slicing him in several pieces. Doing a major backflip, Kabuto, then, looked at Kakashi's partner and saw him holding the snake hand sign, meaning he was the one behind the attacks. He didn't have much time to ponder the situation, because Kakashi was hot on his tail 1 second later. The Junin did some hand signs, before placing his hands in front of his mouth as he exhaled. Kaiten Gukaku no Jutsu, Fire Release, Grand Fireball Jutsu. The incoming fireball, although immense, was nothing Kabuto couldn't dodge just by using his plain agility. However, as he was preparing to evade the incoming attack, he sensed a major shift in the wind, before looking, with wide eyes, that the incoming fireball nearly doubled in size. The man had the decency to curse his luck as he had to channel chakra to his feet in order to escape the attack. He managed to evade in the end, but not at the cost of burning his legs because of it. Immediately healing the damage, not because of the pain which by the way he didn't feel, Kabuto landed on the ground and once more looked at Kakashi's partner for a while. The major shift in wind was not naturally caused, but rather it was chakra-orientated. This, he wasn't expecting at all. Wind users were dangerous, especially in close to middle range, so if the man was far from the battle, that only meant that he was acting as backup for Kakashi. Kakashi saw that Kabuto was focusing on Naruto and took the opportunity to land a powerful kick in the man's chest, thus sending him flying straight towards some trees. He then turned to Naruto and smiled at the boy. He understood the meaning behind being Kakashi's backup as he managed to save the copy nin from having his inner organs severed by Kabuto's attack. Also, the occasional power adding to Kakashi's Kaiden techniques proved to be valuable against Kabuto. What troubled him, though, was the fact that Kabuto's different regenerative abilities. He was pretty sure that the improved fireball would turn his legs to crisp, but when he saw it, it was like the attack never happened. Usually, Kakashi would be able to see the damage being healed slowly, but now it was faster. Orochimaru's Edo Tensei resurrection to the impure world technique was reported by the Black Ops Anbu that witnessed the snake using on the Sandaime Hokage, and they very well saw that even though Sarutobi managed to blow the resurrected bodies of the Nadaime and Shadaime Hokage to smithereens, it would heal over and over, just like Kabuto. It didn't take long for Kabuto to appear in front of Kakashi as he adjusted his glasses so they wouldn't fall off his face. Nice Kakashi, just what I expected from someone like you. Although that partner of yours saved your life once already and I have yet to reach my fullest capacity, smiled Kabuto, earning a snarl from Kakashi. Not much could piss him off these days. He participated in the war against Iwa and had to endure a lot of deadly situations. However, what he hated most was the opponent's unpredictability. For some reason, the man in front of him just wouldn't leave this plane of existence, and Kakashi feared that Orochimaru made some modifications to his body. I don't know what your master had in mind when he brought you back from the dead, Kabuto. But from here on out, I guess I'll have to give 100% on this fight, said Kakashi as he focused more chakra to his feet and charged Kakashi in a speed unheard of, before landing a powerful kick to Kabuto's sternum. But seeing as the man felt no pain, his only hope was to damage the body to the point that the spirit wouldn't be able to maintain itself any longer. The problem was if he would have enough chakra to last until the end. Using speed, Kakashi was waiting for Kabuto to land near him just so he could land a strong punch to the jaw, but he was surprised when Kabuto used the momentum and flipped his body, thus facing Kakashi. He, then, took a regular scalpel from his holster in order to attack the silver-haired Junin, who in turn, already picked up a kunai to parry the blow. Suddenly, the only sounds that people could hear were the number of shifts in the wind and the peculiar sound of metal clashing against metal. Quickly, after defending from Kabuto's attack, Kakashi managed to deliver a reverse kick right on Kabuto's abdomen, sending him straight towards a big rock, before his body collided heavily. Wasting no time at all, Kakashi made some quick hand signs before focusing lightning chakra on his hand. He, then, charged against Kabuto and managed to hit the assassination move directly on Kabuto's heart. Since he saw his hand crossing all the way to the enemy's back, Kakashi relaxed his stance for a short while, but it was long enough for him to realize that it was a fatal mistake as the enemy's hands began glowing purple, showing the chakra scalpels. Because of the short distance, the Anbu wouldn't have time nor space to evade, hence why he focused on one of the simplest techniques in existence, Kawarimi no Jutsu. Kabuto only watched in morbid fascination as Kakashi appeared a few meters away from him. "Congrats Kakashi, I really thought you'd die in my arms this time," said Kabuto, as he rested his hands on his hip in a mocking stance while Kakashi was positioned and ready to counterattack anything the enemy threw at him. Suddenly, though, the sky became dark and immediately thousands and thousands of lightning emerged, ready to strike Kabuto at any time. Because of the Sharingan, Kakashi remembered this genjutsu and smiled at the chance Naruto was giving him. This time, he would make sure to cut off the enemy's head, while he was occupied with Naruto's technique. Kabuto for his part wondered about the sudden change in the weather, before he adjusted his eyes to the enemy. The man was surprised for a moment, because of the fact that the lightning were passing through Kakashi, like they never existed in the first place, but then he realized it was an illusion and he managed to dodge just in time to avoid Kakashi's kunai from severing his head completely. After jumping back a bit, Kabuto took another look at the other Anbu since he knew Kakashi didn't have the time nor the skills to cast a genjutsu without Kabuto realizing. "That little partners of yours is getting on my nerves Kakashi, it seems I can't deal with you alone, so what do you say I get to spice things up a bit?" said Kabuto, before sudden black markings appeared all over his body, making Kakashi flinch in fear. He, then, vanished and appeared next to Naruto, who eyed his partner and sensei with questions. "Naruto, I guess we'll have to pair up against this guy. He just activated a cursed seal, so that's what Orochimaru wanted with Kabuto." "Get ready, we're fighting together," stated Kakashi, earning a nod from Naruto, before he unleashed his katana. "For a moment there, I was beginning to think you didn't need my help Kakashi," smiled Naruto, even though we were now facing a very powerful enemy. He then saw Kabuto emerge from within the bushes, now filled with black dots all over his body, showing to the experienced eye that he was using only the first level of the cursed seal. Sasuke was only able to reach 2 levels of Cursed Seal, but what if he and Orochimaru managed to go beyond it? Asked Naruto, while looking at his sensei, who in turn never took his eyes off the enemy. But the fact remained that Kakashi was very troubled with Naruto's wonders. The Cursed Seal in itself, it's already a powerful and deadly weapon, and with the second level of the Cursed Seal, a skilled shinobi would be nearly unstoppable. So, what about the third level? Kakashi considered his sanity more than trying to respond to the question. He conserved his brain power to think of valuable strategies to be used against Kabuto. _____ At the Hokage's office ____. The Hokage was busy going through some reports like usual. Naruto and Kakashi were still due to return from their mission, and it kind of got the blonde worried about their safety. The mission they undertook was an assassination mission, plain and simple, get in and get out. However, it's been 2 days already and not a word from them. Assigning someone to go after them would be completely against the rules, as Anbu-level missions worked in a different way. Mostly, because of their identities having to remain a secret, Tsunade couldn't send just anyone after them from fear of the mask simply falling while being attended. She was still working out some loopholes on the mission rules in order to send someone, when she heard someone knocking on the door. After duly authorized, Tsunade was surprised for a moment, before the idea suddenly clicked. Who else could she send to retrieve a couple of Anbus than the very team captain and vice captain? Hawk and Bear went out on an investigation assignment close to the border with Fire and Rain Country and returned a couple hours ago, searching for both Naruto and Kakashi. Hawk, Bear, please come inside, I have something I wish to talk to you too, ordered the Hokage, before seeing the 2 Anbus kneel on the ground in total servitude. What can we do for you, Tsunade-sama? Asked Hawk. A couple days ago, I sent Black Wolf and Dog on a mission to a village near Wind Country border in order to take care of a missing nin that was terrorizing a village there. Normally, after the mission completion, either one of them sends a message saying that they are returning. However, it's been 2 days since they left, and with the speed they go, I'd estimate only a day of traveling at the most. I fear that something happened with them, but due to regulations, I'm found with no other alternative but to send you 2 there for assistance. It's highly advisable to leave now, since for all we know, they could be in the middle of a battle going on and are in need of backup, reported Tsunade, earning a nod followed by another bowl to the Hokage, before using Shunshin to appear at the administration building's ceiling. What should we do, Hawk Taiko? Asked Bear as he sent his best to the comrades they were about to rescue. According to the Hokage, it's normally a day of traveling in the direction of the border between Wind and Fire Country, so we must hurry and reduce this time, ordered Hawk, earning a nod from Bear as they dashed through the rooftops, until the gate was visible. Once passing the gates, the Anbus used their skills to further increase their speed by channeling chakra to his feet the exact same time the feet landed on the treetop, thus having more propulsion towards the next incoming tree. _____ Back with the fight . Because of the Cursed Seal Level 1, Kabuto's speed increased tenfold, which was causing some trouble for both Kakashi and Naruto to keep up. Right now, Naruto managed to land consecutive katana attacks, landing a few cuts to Kabuto's abdomen, before Kakashi came and landed one roundhouse kick straight on the man's head, sending him flying a couple of meters, before he used his legs to force his stop. Immediately, Naruto placed his katana back in the holster and started making some hand signs for Suiten Hahenryu water release, destruction current jutsu. Kabuto was suddenly engulfed by the sudden tidal wave crashing down his head, while wondering about the fact that the man just used a Suiten attack. Suddenly, he sensed a different source of chakra, but it was too late as the sudden electric current courtesy of Kakashi's attack sent 1,000 bolts to Kabuto's inner organs, damaging them quite a bit. Black Wolf, this is serious. He is only at Cursed Seal level 1 and he's already giving us trouble because of his healing abilities. We'll have to step things up a bit, said Kakashi, while seeing the results of their coordinated efforts. Wouldn't it be better to save our chakra for the further levels of the Cursed Seal? At level 2, he will be stronger, faster, but his mind won't be the same. He will begin to attack head-on without thinking of the consequences. I don't even want to think that he can reach a third level, reasoned Naruto, earning a nod from Kakashi, as it surely wouldn't be a nice thing if they were out of chakra and Kabuto could still use another level of the damned seal. The pair had to cut short their conversation since Kabuto just casted a strong genjutsu on them, but it didn't take long since both Anbu managed to dispel early enough for them to dodge Kabuto's chakra scalpels. Naruto, now focusing some wind chakra to his blade, did a backflip and sliced the air with as much force as he could handle. By doing this, though, with the additional wind chakra for the technique propulsion, Kabuto looked on in shock to see the huge arc of wind coming right after him, before cutting him in half. Kakashi would be shocked by this level of skill in Kenjutsu, if the situation wasn't so dangerous. However, he had the decency to curse Orochimaru for this technique as he saw Kabuto's body pretty much joined together. He, then, jumped where Naruto was standing and whispered his plan to the blonde. Then, the two began their respective sequence of hand seals. Kaden Karyudan Fire Release, Fire Dragon Projectile Jutsu. Futen Repusho Wind Release, Gale Wind Palm Jutsu. Immediately, the two elemental beams joined, and with it, not only the beam of fire was bigger, but also it was faster, thus hitting Kabuto dead on his chest, burning him down like a crisp as well as sending the man straight towards a river nearby. The attack was devastating, burning a couple of trees that were closer to Kabuto's position, but once more, the man appeared on top of the river unscathed, although his body was entirely burned. Snarling in frustration, Naruto ran towards the river, much to Kakashi's protest, and made some hand signs before stepping on the river. Suiten Mizu Kamikiri Water Release, Rising Water Cutter Jutsu. Suddenly, Naruto sent the attack at Kabuto, who barely managed to evade the attack, before looking back to see a tree sliced in half because of the attack. He, then, looked towards the Anbu, who by now, was already out of the water side by side with Kakashi. Kabuto frowned in respect of the blonde-haired guy. Not only was he quite efficient in futon ninjutsu and his sword, but he has skills regarding Suiten attacks as well. And the jutsu repertoire was simply breathtaking. Orochimaru would surely appreciate having this fellow under his command for sure. However, he needed to kill Kakashi, and if the blonde stood in the way, he would have to be killed as well. Well, Kakashi, I was actually hoping to get rid of you with only the first level of the Cursed Seal, but seeing as I can't land a hit on either of you, how about we spice things a bit? Asked Kabuto, as he activated the Cursed Seal level 2. His skin was darker now and two horns appeared on each side of his head. Spikes also appeared on his back, like the extension of his spinal cord. His clothes were ripped to pieces. During this transformation, Naruto and Kakashi were seizing their options right now. Going head-on against Kabuto now was ludicrous, since both his speed and strength nearly doubled. However, they could perhaps maintain a certain distance from the man, thus forcing him to make a mistake if Naruto's theory about the second level of the Cursed Seal proved to be right. Suddenly, Kabuto exploded forwards the two Anbus, but Naruto beat him to it by holding the Tiger Seal for a genjutsu called Kokuangyu no Jutsu, Journey into Black Darkness Jutsu. In seconds, Kabuto's world turned to darkness and he couldn't see a damn thing. Kakashi, however, seized the opportunity and took his ninjutsu to slice the man into pieces. Unfortunately, because of the second level of the Cursed Seal, Kabuto's body was hardened, thus the only damage Kakashi was able to inflict were a couple of bruises on Kabuto's arm. Nice try, Kakashi. This is a very strong genjutsu, but since you can't deliver the killing blow, it's kind of useless. Kai, whispered Kabuto, before the daylight suddenly appeared showing the two Anbus in front of him and the blonde guy holding the tiger seal. Choosing to attack him instead, Kabuto charged against Naruto, who kept waiting until the enemy reached his position before he focused chakra to his feet and legs, increasing his agility while landing wind-charged katana attacks. Naruto managed to slice one of Kabuto's arms, but as usual, the arm would just join with the body once more. Snarling in frustration, Naruto twisted his body and raised his foot up to the enemy's hand, thus landing a reverse kick on the guy's neck with force. Normally, the sound of a neck breaking meant someone was dead, but in this case, Kabuto wasn't even fazed by the attack. Picking a couple of scalpels from his holster, Kabuto threw all of them at the blonde, before smirking in satisfaction as all of them managed to hit the target. Naruto snarled at the pain, but managed to escape from Kabuto's chakra scalpels by focusing some wind chakra around his body and creating a vacuum of air, not allowing the enemy to make a step further. That gave him the opportunity to jump away from the fight and see Kakashi engaging Kabuto once more with a Reikiri straight on Kabuto's chest, before focusing some lightning chakra to damage the organs severely. Kakashi, then, aimed a powerful kick on Kabuto's chest, sending the enemy flying, before jumping back to see how Naruto was faring. He was surprised to see the blonde ripping the scalpels one by one from his arms and legs, each of them followed by a slight grunt in pain from the blonde, but otherwise, he was ready to battle. Don't worry, eventually it will heal. Nevertheless, our attacks aren't causing the desired effect. What can we do? Asked Naruto, earning a sigh in contemplation from Kakashi. He was asking himself this question over and over again. Both he and Naruto managed to deliver some heavy punishment on the enemy that would obliterate any other enemy. However, Kabuto's body would just join once more, like nothing happened. Kakashi knew it was the same thing that the Sandaime Hokage faced when the Sound tried to invade Konoha, and Kakashi just didn't want to use the technique Sarutobi used to take care of the situation. I don't know, but we need to replenish our chakra. Here, take a chakra pill. We need to be on top of our strength and hopefully, we can land one attack that will kill him, said Kakashi, earning a nod from Naruto as he ingested the chakra pill, before feeling his chakra being replenished once more. Not that he actually needed it because of the high chakra capacity, but eventually, he would run out of it. They both got up the second Kabuto appeared once more in front of them, but right now, they could see that the man was letting his emotions get the better of him. Kabuto was right now drooling like a mad person, no doubt because of the cursed seal's effect on people. You two are starting to become a pain and I'll kill you all as if the last thing I do, shouted Kabuto, clearly affected because of the cursed seal running through his system. However, to both Naruto and Kakashi's experience, Kabuto's chakra was flaring uncontrollably, and that only meant trouble on the horizon. Suddenly, the horns started to grow up in his canines as well, giving him a beast appearance like no other seen before. Naruto and Kakashi didn't even see the enemy until they both received a strong punch on the chest, sending them both flying. Using the momentum, both flipped their bodies and fixed their feet on the ground, thus stopping. However, even before they could see what happened, Kabuto was right in front of them, landing, this time, a couple of hard punches everywhere on the body. Kakashi was having trouble even to accompany the enemy's movements with his Sharingan, but one thing was to see the movements and another was to move accordingly to intercept. This was a new level of Cursed Seal and it certainly increased speed and power, but like Naruto predicted, Kabuto was transformed from the usually calculating shinobi to a raging maniac. The only problem was the immeasurable pain both were feeling at the moment. The attacks were brutal and every bone in their bodies was now aching in pain. Looking up, Kakashi noticed that Naruto was struggling to fight Kabuto in his third Cursed Seal level. Punches, scratches, kicks, the blonde was more fitted to be a punching bag. Kabuto was nowhere to be seen until Naruto received a strong kick on the gut, before flying all the way to an incoming tree, before his body slammed hard on the ground. Blood poured out of his mouth and his vision was getting blurred, because of his body hitting the tree hard. Suddenly, Naruto looked up to see Kabuto in front of him, with a smirk on his face as he extended his claws in order to move for the killing blow. As the arms moved, Naruto snarled in dismay at the idea of dying right now. Ever since he started his career as an Anbu, he never stopped facing death-like situations and managing to overcome the obstacles. He trained like hell each day, and because of that, his name in Anbu HQ was spoken with respect, at least his codename was. Also, thinking about his angel, he surely wished he could be with her right now, instead of here on the verge of receiving the killing blow. He closed the mental link between the fox inside his body, who for his part was screaming for Naruto to use his chakra and deal with Kabuto, but he wouldn't do it. No doubt, he would be able to win the battle by simply using one tail worth of the fox's power. However, by doing so, it would ruin everything he tried dearly to prevent the fox from controlling his urges. If he was supposed to die, he would die as a shinobi, not a demon. He saw Kabuto moving his arm and closed his eyes as he waited for the blow. However, it didn't come, as he looked up only to see what appeared to be a ninjutsu going through Kabuto's chest, before Kakashi came in and sent the enemy flying with a chakra-oriented kick. He, then, kneeled next to Naruto and made Naruto eat a soldier pill for some energy. "Are you okay?" asked Kakashi, earning a nod from Naruto. "I'm alright, I actually thought he was going to kill me, thanks for saving me," said Naruto, earning a sigh in contemplation from Kakashi. "I'd never abandon one of my students, even though it won't take long for you to surpass me. We'll need to focus our last source of chakra into one concentrated ninjutsu. His speed is too great for us to follow. Any ideas?" asked Kakashi, earning a nod from Naruto. "Prepare your strongest fire technique and I'll handle the rest," stated Naruto, earning a nod from Kakashi, who in turn considered the fact that Naruto is well versed in using coordinated ninjutsu. Standing next to each other, they eyed Kabuto, who in turn was displaying a devilish smirk on his face as his teeth were drooling with saliva. He then opened his mouth to speak, but his voice was different. "Prepare to die, both of you," shouted Kabuto as he prepared another charge against the two. Quickly, both Naruto and Kakashi started hand signs in rapid succession, before both ended at the Tiger Seal. "Kaiten Karyu Enden, Fire Release Fire Dragon Missile Projectile Jutsu," whispered Kakashi as he gathered air on his chest. "Futen Kyumu Shippu, Wind Release Fierce Hurricane Jutsu," whispered Naruto, before both of them whisper the creation of a new coordinated jutsu called Hinote Shippu no Jutsu, Blazing Hurricane Jutsu. The fire dragon technique soon merged with Naruto's hurricane, thus transforming into a fire tornado, engulfing everything in its path. As soon as Kabuto stepped forward to attack the Anbus, he was suddenly engulfed by the technique. He would have screamed in pain because of the unbearable temperature inside the hurricane. His entire body was being consumed by the enhanced fire until his body began melting all the way to his head. Suddenly, the seal used to revive the dead appeared from his head, before it burned because of the technique. And since the seal was the one responsible for fixing his body over and over again, nothing prevented Kabuto's body from simply dissolving from the unbearable temperature. Naruto and Kakashi, though, fell to unconsciousness the minute they released the technique, never knowing if it really worked against Kabuto. In Konoha . Quickly running through the hospital corridors, Yaikuranai felt her heart beating like crazy. She received the news from one of her boyfriend's team that he was badly injured and was in treatment for heavy chakra exhaustion. She had to curse her boyfriend's chakra capacity to fail him now of all times. She reached the room where her boyfriend was staying with Hitaki Kakashi, and she saw Tsunade come out of the room with a heavy sigh on her face, probably meaning the worst. "Tsunade-sama, how is he? How's my boyfriend? Asked Kurenai on the verge of losing her mind because of immeasurable pain she was feeling. Tsunade, for her part, looked at Kurenai before she nodded in the positive, somehow easing Kurenai's pain severely. He is fine, Kurenai, just some extreme case of chakra exhaustion and a couple of broken ribs. Nothing that a full week rest at the hospital wouldn't cure. Kakashi is slightly worse, but he'll make a full recovery. They gave us quite a scare, that's for sure. According to the team I sent that brought them back, the entire area was leveled and Hawk, Naruto's Anbu captain, recognized the joint efforts of Akaten and Futon ninjutsu, so it suggests that a full-scale battle occurred and our guys were the winner. My guess is that they used every drop of chakra in one attack, thus managing to kill whoever attacked them. Nonetheless, we won't know the full extent of what happened until they wake up, which could be in a couple of hours or a couple days, who knows, explained Tsunade, before looking at Kurenai. You can go in if you want to, Kurenai. I'll tell the nurse to call you once the visitor's hour is over, said Tsunade, earning a nod from Kurenai as she, then, walked inside to see her boyfriend lying on the furthest bed from the door. She, then, walked towards the sleeping blonde and began playing with his head before whispering a few comforting words to the blonde. Needless to say, her heart wasn't hurting any longer, instead being filled with joy after seeing that he would be alright in a couple days. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but worry about who was the one responsible for doing this to both Naruto and Kakashi. These two were part of Konoha's elite, and for them to be in this situation meant that the attacker was Sage level or even Cage level. It didn't help trying to think about it right now, so she just waited for Naruto to wake up so that he could tell everything that happened. And, okay, that's it for now. Next chapter, something major is about to happen to our hero. I won't say much because I don't want to ruin the surprise. All I can say is that everything is related to the one thing Naruto never had an answer for. I'll let your imaginations guess what it is. That's it for part 14. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Naruto What If stories. And comment below, what do you think the Black Wolf's next move should be? See you in the next video.